are these people?
You know, normally we talk about stories that we miss. This is not a story that anybody's missed. But there's a couple of points that I think people didn't point out that are in this one and that I'm going to bring that. That's why I'm bringing it, because it's still important. All right. There's a guy named Eric Gross. Now, I'll tell you a story about how I first found Eric Gross about a month ago on Substack Notes. He wrote a note about how he had a argument via DMs with his friend in New Jersey. His Jewish friend in New Jersey. Imagine that. And at first he felt guilty about how hard he had gone because they were arguing about Gaza and about genocide and about ethnic cleansing. And he said, I didn't really feel bad about, the images I was sending him. I didn't feel bad about, and the post really resonated with me. He got a follow from me. So when he wrote this article about this shooting of the UnitedHealthcare CEO, insurance CEO this week, that's been the story of the news, the big distraction. And I hate covering the big distraction of the week because it's a distraction. The distraction from the fact that they used the CIA and HTS to topple to topple Syria. Who must go? They wanted Assad gone for a long time, and they also used this distraction to kind of do that in a way. I think that, it was already on the books, but how convenient that there's this kind of national attention completely driven elsewhere when the Middle East is totally about to fall into collapse. All right. But I read this article that he wrote, and I thought it was a really comprehensive look at, and it's from the side that we would look at it from, which is the no mercy on a CEO that has had policies in place that would deny healthcare. And we're going to talk about all of that. The thing I found most interesting, I'll save that for the end. Let's go through some of the article. Maybe it'll fit here. But he says, the public, no sympathy for the devil. The public murder of a healthcare CEO has shown a spotlight on the revolutionary class division rising in 2024 America. And I think we talk about all the time, ain't no war but class war right now. All right. That it's all of us against the 1%ers and the 5%ers and the people who are comfortable right now. All right. Because they're trying to maintain the status quo. He says, yesterday at 6:45 in the morning, UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson was shot and killed outside a Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan as he departed for a shareholder meeting to celebrate the insurance company's growing profits. The incident was caught on camera and launched an immediate nationwide onslaught of 24-hour news coverage typically reserved for presidential assassination attempts or billionaire submarine excursions. Or school shootings, for that matter. It will likely continue for several days, or at least until the perpetrator is apprehended. Type his name into any search engine or social media app to see firsthand evidence of this media mania, or just check Google's trends page that tracks traffic. This is what the page auto-loaded 14 hours after the killing. And you can just see, why is UnitedHealthcare CEO trending? And they explain why. And you can just see that jump. All right. More than 24 hours after the shooting, the trends page still auto-loaded a related search about words written on the 3 bullet casings found at the scene: deny, defend, depose. And that had only gone up and had peaked just a few hours before he screen capped that, which was at 11:45 a.m. on Thursday. All right. Virtually none of the initial media reports mentioned that Brian Thompson was being sued by the Hollywood Firefighters Pension Fund after selling his personal UnitedHealthcare stock prior to public notice of the DOJ investigation into the company in February of this year, which immediately tanked the stock and erased $25 billion in valuation. He protected his
billion with a
bill with a buh.
With a buh?
With a buh. Yes, with a buh.
Okay.
That's a buh.
Okay.
Yes, with a B.
25 of them buzz.
Erasing $25 billion in valuation, he protected his own investments with insider information after the company was notified of the investigation in October of last year. He knew for months. The next window that opened up, he dumped all his stock, and then they announced the investigation. The stock tanked afterwards, but hey, man, I got mine out. But it wasn't just him. All right, and I think this is mentioned later on, but the chairman of the board of UnitedHealthcare also dumped during that February period to the tune of $85 million. Yes, that's $85 million. Not $25 billion, but he cashed out for $85 million. He'll probably end up in jail and have to give all that back. As politicians and business leaders rushed to social media to express their condolences, and reporters poured over Thompson's history and reports of death threats that he received, the online conversation among the American public took a decidedly different tone. A near universal condemnation of UnitedHealthcare, the U.S. healthcare system, insurers in general, and Brian Thompson himself as a criminal and purveyor of mass suffering and death for profit. He served as CEO since April of 2021. Conveniently, I believe that was the month that they started issuing COVID shots. Not that. Okay. But of course, the elites deflect and hide. So while we're having one conversation,
yeah,
there's a whole other conversation going on in Ritchieville. While the wealthy and privileged children clutched their pearls and clamored to strengthen their personal security, UnitedHealthcare stealthily removed a webpage from their site called Our Leadership that featured photos.
It's a prank!
They removed a webpage from their site called Our Leadership that featured photos and bios of its executive team. The search result still appears in Google, and for a while after the killing, it loaded a page not found message, but a day later, it now simply just redirects to the company's homepage. No harm, no foul, like it never existed. What? People? No, you're not going to... Board? No! You're not going to find out who they are anymore. The board meets in secret. It seems that in an instant, the security and safety of the ultra-rich and powerful was revealed to be a mirage, a facade projected by the media and law enforcement designed to convince the many that there's no way to touch the few. It's almost certain that high-profile corporate executives, particularly those in industries and companies that directly harm human beings, will begin spending more money to hire personal security for public appearances. This may extend to the executives in the insurance, fossil fuel, chemical, and pharmaceutical industries that are widely reviled.
Industrial complex.
Yeah, that are widely reviled. Well, they're probably carrying anyway themselves, and they may have military escorts.
Don't matter.
That's true.
That again, don't matter.
But they're widely reviled by the public and specifically hated by individuals directly impacted by their misdeeds, from the Sacklers to the Kochs. The wave of fear could even reach political leaders, many of whom already receive frequent death threats and are commonly perceived as responsible for direct harm to civilians, like responsible for genocide, which they fucking are.
Yep.
Bring every one of these motherfuckers up to the Hague, especially Tom Cotton, by the way. I want Tom Cotton up there
Tom
first.
Cotton.
Fuck you, Tom Cotton.
Fuck you.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
All right. Among the first reactionaries was Democrat Senator Amy Stapler-throwing Klobuchar from no, don't say that, because that even glorifies the person who I first heard of. Minnesota with her Uncle Dick.
He stole
where of
me.
course, UnitedHealthcare is headquartered. All right. So she's pandering to a large constituent. This is a horrifying and shocking act of violence. My thoughts are with Brian Thompson's family and loved ones and all those working at you.
It's a fray!
All those working at UnitedHealthcare in Minnesota. Please donate to my campaign, UnitedHealthcare. Please don't take those donations away. Please.
I'd like to see how his fare fares in a blizzard.
Because Senator Klobuchar has received at least $182,870 from UnitedHealthcare throughout her political career, according to Open Secrets. That's just directly from the company, let alone the executives, their employees, and remember, they're all headquartered there, so they all max out to their nice Democratic senator because they all want their health care money, right?
Yeah.
It's unclear why she chose to mention all those working at UnitedHealthcare in Minnesota, since the incident occurred in New York and was clearly a targeted attack against the CEO. The larger and more pertinent question, though, is how Klobuchar and her ilk can keep a straight face when responding this way, while they refuse to acknowledge that the U.S. healthcare system, and specifically insurance providers, conduct constant violence against their customers and the American public for profit.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.
Nice. Klobuchar's loyalties are made fairly clear by her lax reaction to the healthcare giant's continued consolidation of the industry while serving as the top Democrat on a Senate panel specifically focused on antitrust concerns.
While she twiddles her thumbs.
The panel has questioned multiple competitor health insurers about mergers, but interestingly has never summoned UnitedHealth to testify, as it's gobbled up smaller companies and increased its vertical integration to control more of the health insurance process and data. Weird how when you buy off a senator's favor who's the chair of that committee, they don't investigate your company, but they investigate all their competitors. Weird how that happens. Check out the senator's Twitter or Threads accounts to see the responses to her post, which carry an almost unanimous sentiment
authorization
of scorn, derision, and sarcasm using the language of the health insurance industry. Yes, thoughts and prayers require prior authorization. More citizens should get involved in CEO's health, and it's only fair. Diplomatic immunity is the first thing. Medicare for all could have saved this man's life. I literally had that same tweet. All right. Too bad your thoughts were never with those who suffered and died after this man's minions denied care. Not to mention that he'll have the Hill Healthcare Pros have gone through the hell Healthcare Pros have gone through. Sorry. Oh, terrible punctuation. Yep. Thanks, Elon. What about the tens of thousands they killed by denying claims? Says the woman who has the best health insurance in the country. Yeah. Minnesota! Those guys. Now, every similar post from a titan of industry or American politician has received the same response of universal dissent and disapproval of the hand-wringing by the elite classes, except for, funny enough, the Trumpers that are really mad for some reason. Really mad.
Some of them. The others, not so much.
Okay, well, I've seen a whole group of people that's really mad, and God forbid
I've seen a bunch of people under some particular pundits' YouTubes that are like, nah, it ain't just the left.
The poor CEOs. You know, it ain't, but, all right. But what he said was, for reference, the average day in America sees more than 132 people killed by guns. I'm going to repeat that because I can't believe I just had to read that sentence, but I did. The average day in America sees more than 132 people killed by guns. That's got to be more than anywhere else in the world.
How many people in America die by not having their medical procedures covered? I bet you a lot more than 132.
Well, that's what he's going to do that too. That's 132 people shot to death every single day without end, mostly without any widespread media coverage or statements from elected officials. But when the victim is rich, powerful industry executive, thoughts and prayers and condemnations pour out of our elected leaders even faster than the cash that flows into their pockets from the industry. That is fucking poetry right there. One of the reasons why I brought that article is because of that sentence. Just fucking great. Now, talking about deny, defend, and depose, under Brian Thompson's leadership, profits at UnitedHealthcare have risen from $12 billion in 2021 to $16 billion in 2023, a 33% jump in just 2 years. Huh? How did they do that? That would be an amazing, almost unbelievable result for any established company in any industry. But, of course, in healthcare, it's dumbfounding. Did the company start offering more popular services? Did it greatly increase its customer base? Did it eliminate unnecessary expenses?
No.
Or did it simply push more lucrative Medicare Advantage plans that target senior Americans with supplemental coverage to Medicare that's long been regarded as a scam for denying claims, charging the government huge sums for unnecessary procedures, and failing to provide the promised benefits? Ding, ding, ding. The Department of Health and Human Services itself found that in 2024 that Medicare Advantage providers overbilled taxpayers by billions of dollars every year. In August of this year, it was revealed that Congress nearly dealt with this in 2014, but as nearly always happens, ended up caving to demands from the industry to allow the continued theft of billions of dollars to boost profits, stock prices, and subsequent campaign contributions to those same members of Congress. Amazing how that laundry funnel works. Congress ignores the law. The insurance companies bilk billions out of the public. They pay out big money to shareholders, which are the wealthy and the Congress people themselves that invest in these companies because there's nothing stopping them besides the $500 quarterly fine for do so. And then on top of it, you've got the PACs, the super PACs, and all of the nonprofit organizations that they fund in order to buy influence and lobbying organizations, and then the executives that they end up putting on the FDA. Let's not forget about that they also put that the healthcare and that the pharmaceutical industry and that the healthcare industry are funding and providing the executives for the FDA.
The money is there.
Right? So did it simply push those plans? All right. This is how legal bribery works in Congress across all industries. When Congress identifies an illegality or an issue that it could fix through legislation, that industry's lobbyists descend on Washington to warn the elected officials that they'll harm jobs, they'll hurt the economy, and most importantly, they won't receive future funding for their next election campaign.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Fuck the Shepherd of Hopes. Fuck that guy. For representatives, this is an especially effective message or threat because, of course, they're up for re-election every 2 years and thus must be constantly weary of any organization that could spend millions to support a competitor for their seat, which happens all the time. Now, they get a lot of name recognition, and there's like a 90% re-election rate for a lot of these fuckers. So it's kind of an empty threat, but it's also that 90% of the time, the better funded candidate ends up winning. It's just that the incumbent uses that power to gain better access to better funding and remain the better funded candidate. Now, he says here that it's the same argument that Joe Biden and Lindsey Graham, Lady G, make when supporting war. The same argument Joe Manchin and all the Republicans make when demanding an increased fossil fuel use, and the same argument that automakers and baby formula producers make when anyone tries to regulate them to improve safety or reduce harms to the environment and population. You'll lose us money.
Like pulling out heavy metals, you know?
Yeah. You lose us money, and then we'll attack you electorally. And here we get to the crux. Money. And here we get to the crux of the issue. Snow Himbo. And where's my Tim Curry soundbite? We're going to hear it in a second. UnitedHealthcare, okay, profits over people always. What happened? We froze?
Capitalism.
Thank you. My favorite.
Capitalism.
There we go. UnitedHealthcare has the highest rate of claims denials of any U.S. health insurance company by far. This chart has made the rounds and will be seared into the public consciousness for a long time to come. It shows how UnitedHealthcare's denial rate is double the industry average of 16%.
Wow.
And that Kaiser Permanente is less than half, by the way. A lot of people dog on Kaiser Permanente, as have I. And I don't like the Kaiser Health News. I feel like they... Go ahead.
I wish this chart also gave, like, not just percentage rates, but, like, actual denials, right? So that way you could, like, add up all the denials of, like...
Oh, the total number?
The entire industry. Mm-hmm.
Well, then you'd also have to know...
It'll be in the billions of people, it feels like, you know.
You'd also have to know how many customers they had and how many claims each one of them filed. So there's a bunch of multiple, variables there that you would have to consider. All right, and each person, files multiple claims, and it's crazy how they file a ridiculous amount and they end up settling, and your bill's like $28 at the end. But it was $3,000 for a doctor visit that you did nothing in, but got like weighed and they took your blood pressure. But that's how the insurance company settles with the medical office, and everybody gets paid. In addition to this year's HHS findings of Medicare Advantage plan providers overcharging the government for unnecessary services, a Senate investigation also announced in October that UnitedHealthcare, CVS, and Humana are using AI tools to more rapidly make decisions on claims, and the result has been faster denials and increased rates of denials, and they've known it.
Which I looked into some of that, and it was like they designed it specifically to, like, deny more people. You know?
Because AI, they didn't
has
program
no emotion.
They didn't program the AI properly, obviously, because this was done not necessarily by design.
No, it's by design.
No, I think that
literally
they
designed it that way.
There are variables that they could not possibly foresee or understand.
I'm saying they did.
That's by design. Yes, it's all by design. Yes,
literally by design.
Yes.
This specifically is what I'm saying.
The report is the report is extremely damning, noting that United's post-acute care denials, which refers to claims and needs following surgeries or major illness, has already more than doubled from 10.9 to 22.7% in the last 2 years. Did people stop getting sick half as much?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you also don't use all of your anesthetic when you go into surgery. So, there's like carryover anesthetic from your last surgery. So we can like pull some numbers off that so we don't have to pay as much on your knockout drug while you're getting cut open.
Now, what he says was that a lot of this is due to their purchase of NaviHealth, which is a company that handles prior authorization processes between doctors and insurers. Okay, but NaviHealth told customer service representatives to not help providers with prior authorization questions. Important. Literally mandated, do not guide providers or give providers answers to the questions. I think the HHS might want to have something to say about that. Somebody might want to have something to say about that.
Yep.
The use of artificial intelligence for purposes of expediting decisions has been expedited at breakneck speed across industries. Agenda 2030, anyone? But its growth in healthcare is among the most directly impactful on people's lives. These efforts to consolidate and automate processes are occurring in every applicable industry as rapidly as possible, from advertising and insurance to coding to surveillance, logistics and warehouse management. This is where the reader gets a couple of reminders from Eric. First, the United States is the only country on earth that operates its healthcare system primarily for private profit, with the exception of Medicare and Medicaid, which are government funded and not the same as private Medicare Advantage plans.
Yep.
Second, the United States is one of the only countries where healthcare commonly pushes citizens into bankruptcy, with up to 600,000 medical bankruptcies reported every year, potentially accounting for up to 62% of all bankruptcies.
Nice.
Which means you have over 1 million bankruptcies a year.
Yeah.
All right. And that's not all. The 2022 Kaiser Family Foundation report, and like I said, I'm not a huge fan of theirs because it feels like they put out a lot of propaganda on behalf of the health insurance industry to try to make themselves look a little better. All right.
Yeah.
But they found that life-altering effects of medical costs and debts in America go well beyond bankruptcy. All right. Because people are literally cutting spending on food, clothing, and other basics in order to be able to cover their costs of health care. This is real. 48% have used up almost all or all of their savings. 40%.
Because I'm all out of money!
40% taking on extra work. You know, the economy's great. I've got 3 jobs and I still can't pay my rent. Delaying buying a home or an education, I think that's actually even higher than that. Because I don't think that there's even the possibility for a lot of people. It's so far out of the realm to even think about buying a home.
I remember, like, when was it? Like, fucking, when Bernie was running, people were talking about, you know, no one can afford a $200 emergency.
$400,
I'm sure
right?
That's like went way lower.
75%
probably can't afford a $100 emergency, let alone.
It was that 65% or 2/3 of Americans could not afford a $400 emergency, medical or otherwise, without going into debt and having to put some on the credit card. But these numbers are depressing, stunning, and real. And the wealthy are in denial about a lot of it, or they say, oh, tisk, that's terrible, it must change. But they don't really want things to change too much because they're making a ton of money, not necessarily off of this, but off of the ancillary industries that support it.
Yeah.
Data also indicates that millions of people pay for medical care with high interest credit cards, which furthers the debt load and the corporate profits from healthcare services. Think about the amount of Visa profit they're making because people swipe their health insurance bill on a credit card, and Visa's getting a piece of that every month. By the way, full disclosure, I do own shares in Visa in my retirement account. That's because it makes a shitload of money. A Zillow report from 2019 is equally enlightening, showing that medical debt is a major factor in denials for mortgages, summarized thusly. Quote, Zillow's survey found that 38% of buyers who owe money for healthcare expenses said they'd been turned down for a mortgage because of medical debt. That was a significantly higher rejection rate than for buyers with student loans at 28% or credit card debt at 22%. That's weird. I mean, it's debt. Does it really matter where the debt's coming from, whether it's medical, student loan, or credit card? Really? I guess credit card because the interest rate might be a little bit higher. Maybe. I don't know. But he gets right down to the bottom line is when we see the struggles of the citizenry contrasted against the concerns of the rich, powerful, and political elites, quote unquote, it's dishonest to feign shock or surprise that a healthcare CEO could be shot at point blank in public. Reactions like Senator Klobuchar's obstruct and deflect the conversation to be one about crime because the leaders determine what constitutes a crime. When you end someone's life with a bullet, it's a heinous act of violence. If you, however, end someone's life by denying them medical care they're rightfully entitled to receive, that's a positive for shareholders. If you gouge them so heavily that they must take out loans, well, that's just business, baby. In fact, it's just good business. That deserves a bonus. That's how Brian Thompson earned more than $10 million in total compensation in 2023. He oversaw a massive expansion of intentional denials that vastly exceeds every other competitor's denial rates, and he was rewarded handsomely for it by the company and its shareholders, who are also rewarded handsomely. Go figure. This is the core evil creating a for-profit healthcare system. Those in power have direct yet obscured control over the very survival of hundreds of millions of citizens with virtually no power to control their own care or fight back against the corporate machine determining whether they live or die or go homeless. If we should be surprised by anything, it should be how long it's taken for individuals to fight back against the corruption and criminality that pervades so many of our systems and industries, perhaps most of all in healthcare. Every large healthcare corporation spends significant sums to lobby against universal healthcare, lower prescription drug costs, increased coverage mandates, and any other policies that might take a penny out of their bottom line. These lobbyists and corporate executives present themselves as fighters for life, the delivery vehicle for health. But in the end, they're nothing more than purveyors of mass death and constant suffering, sneering down at us from their protected perches. Parasites. Now,
Watch that movie?
Parasite?
Parasite?
No.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, as we enter,
I've not watched it, but I heard it's good.
Where is that? Where do you see? Where
Parasite?
can you? Yeah.
Probably anywhere you find. It might even be on Netflix. I don't know. Won a ton of awards.
Just to finish it up, though, as we enter what may be the most tumultuous period in America since the Civil War, it seems that they're going to need more protection from all of us. Forget about giving us more health care, giving us more services so that we wouldn't feel the need at all to take a poke at a CEO of a murdering corporation like that. No, we need to protect the billionaires, of course. Okay. Yeah. He had originally cited 125 Americans killed by guns per day as 125, but it's actually 132, citing 48,204 firearm deaths by the CDC in 2022. Again, this is Eric Gross. I've been following him for about a month, and he just set this Substack up last night, Parking Lot Dispatch. It's Eric DeGrossi, But he goes under he publishes under the name of Eric Gross. He also has spoken out at his local council meetings. He's done food drives to feed the hungry. This guy lives it. He's in it. I don't agree with everything he believes and says, and that's okay. But I thought this was a really good, comprehensive article and said a lot of the things that I thought were really interesting here. Now, the one thing he did not say, and that nobody said, and I don't even think, I think I said it to Reef earlier, but I was on AM Wake Up at the end of the show on Friday when Steve opens up the StreamYard to everyone that wants to join in and talk. And his co-host for Monday night, his show Monday night, which is Blunt Force Wisdom over on the AM Wake Up channel, is a woman named Teal. And Teal pointed out that looking at the characteristics from that photo that they released, that could just as easily have been a woman, or maybe even somebody who was somewhere in between, some kind of surgery. I don't want to use the word because I don't want to have to take another lap, but because I got told to take a lap for using it on Friday. It was very funny, and I was like, I thought it was really interesting, that take, because think about two things. Number one, who in the family is usually the one dealing with the insurance company? And that's stereotypical and that's chauvinistic or whatever. But in my family specifically, and in most families I know, it's the womans. It's the mother. It's the wife. She's the one that deals with the health insurance and the coverage and the doctors and the scheduling and the claims and sits on hold. And maybe that, again, is being a little chauvinistic. I apologize if so.
Yes. Objection, speculative.
All right. However, remember what time this hit took, what time of day this hit took place as well. 6:45 in the morning. What man is getting up that early, getting fully dressed with a face mask on to take a poke at 6:45 in the morning? I'd say women are more likely to get up early in the morning and do that in anger and rage.
The CEO's up that way. CEO's up that early.
He's making millions, bro.
And
that's what C-level executives.
If you want to go catch him,
that's what C-level executives do. But my point is,
you better be up.
Who tracks and targets better than a woman? Who stalks better than a woman? Oh, sorry. All right. Anyway, that was my little take. And that was actually Teal's take. That I thought woman. I thought it could have been a woman. Very easily could have been a woman. Mm-hmm. That photo looks like it could have been a woman.
Dr. Pepper. You ever think about that? Dr. Pepper could be a woman.
Well, there are female doctors, yes. That is correct. Sure glad I'm not sick. All right. So that was our fun story about the murder of a healthcare insurance company CEO in
what I'm gonna do?
Daylight on the street.
We're gonna make a comic book. It's gonna turn into a whole comic book franchise. We'll get Ryan Reynolds on it. Right. We're gonna call it the Orca, and it's just a vigilante that goes around taking out the worst CEOs on yachts, preferably.
I'm buying it. I'm watching that. 100%.
Yeah. We'll work on it. We'll get it. We'll get the first one drawn up.
We really appreciate everyone for being here and for supporting INN and independent media. TYT funded by Jeffrey Katzenberg. INN funded by you, everyone. And they can say they're funded by you, but they've got their corporate donors. Yeah. We do not. We've got you. We got these people that are on that board. We've got Sean Miller, who hooks us up weekly. We got Charlie Mack, who hooks us up weekly. We got Anna Mayers, who hooks us up all the time. Kameshwari Kate hooked us up huge. Natalie Williams, oh my God, love you so much. Golden, there's so many great people on this list that are supporting this. Dr. Nick, Bad Cookies, Brett Wilkins, an Indie Media Award honoree on the list. And it looks like we got a founding member to Indie Media tonight. Thank you so much. Who was it? Let's see. New paid subscriber. We just got it on the books. And it is Kameshwari, Kate. Thank you so much, Kate. You're the best. I love you. The Guardian is getting funding from Bill Gates, but we're not. So because of that, we rely on you. We are completely user funded, as well as, ourselves, that we can, whatever we can afford to put into this as well. But anything you can do to help would really be, great. Really appreciate that. We got some more support this week from a bunch of people, and that's awesome. We are so close to being able to pay off our Zago friends, and then we can pay off the Restream bill, which is the big one for the year. That's coming at the end of the month. And then we get into 2025 bills so that we can then do some really cool, fun stuff for the network and start helping some other people do some mutual aid stuff. The links to do so are right here. So if you are unable to totally get it, enjoy the stream, share the content, please, if you can, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, let people know about INN and let people know about this show. It really helps. And they can download it in podcasts and they can watch it on basically every platform, either live or on replay. We leave all the VODs up and we do clips via newsletter. There's a ton of ways to get the content. But these are the amazing people that have already supported INN. We love you. Thank you. Really appreciate you. Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, Patreon. At a monthly, you can do a Patreon or at the innnewsletter.com, which you can see down there. Somewhere down at the bottom, you'll see in a second. If you can, we love you all. And all these people have already taken care of INN the best they could and reached into their pockets and thrown a couple of bucks toward the network and toward the independent media they want to see. We don't have corporate funding. We have you. The easiest ways to do that are with Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, and Patreon. We have the INN newsletter, which you can subscribe to monthly or annually. We also, by the way, have some new merch at indienews.shop, INDIE news.shop. You'll see that in the scrolling ticker as well. So you can pick up merch and support us in that way as well. Hannah, I know, ordered a couple tank tops. Cookie said that he ordered a beanie, which I can't wait for him to run around with an INN beanie. Because God forbid anybody else had a narrative that's different from theirs. It's a real problem. So therefore, please support INN, support independent media, support the people that are countering that narrative, because it's everywhere, man. Thank you to everyone, really, for supporting independent media. We show this link one more time, this page one more time with the links. Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, Patreon, if you're able to. Also, INNnewsletter.com, you see there, and at the merch at indienews.shop, where you can pick up t-shirts and tank tops and beanies and all of your merch Christmassy needs. And if there's something that you want to see that I haven't made, that we haven't made merch-wise, I'm willing to do that too. Just tell me what you want to see and I can make it. Support independent media because we need it more than...
There you go.
What? Oh, my thing, right. Support independent media. We need it more than ever. I love you all, and I really appreciate all of you.